Hello everyone. We have brought a story of microbiology for you with a strong message and learning. An Irish girl, Mary Mellon, who migrated to New York at the age of 15, started working there as a maid for her livelihood. Later on, she shifted to be a cook and changed around 8 jobs during 1900 to 1907, all in the capacity of a domestic cook. And eventually, the world was left stunned with what happened with her. Actually, Mary had taken birth in a state of typhoid fever because her mother was infected during her pregnancy. So, what had happened was that Mary had no inkling that she had become a carrier for typhoid germs, meaning that she did not suffer from the disease and its agony but was passing the pathogen on to so many, leading to a number of typhoid outbreaks. Although by cooking the food at high temperature, the causative organism Salmonella typhi does get killed, but in the cold foods like ice cream containing fresh peach, it doesn't happen, which means the pathogen can survive. The spread of typhoid is via unclean food, water, and also through feces and urine, and its symptoms encompass nausea, vomiting, and a nasty rash. However, the carriers just spread the pathogen but do not display any of these symptoms. The typhoid disease at that time in well-to-do families was rather unusual. It used to typically strike in the poverty-afflicted and unsanitary environments. Landlords used to get their water samples from pipes and faucets tested routinely, all of which should test negative. Once a wealthy lawyer's only daughter got typhoid and died, following which the grief-stricken dad employed an investigator, George Soper, to figure out who was responsible for this untimely loss. He discovered that this female Irish cook was inadvertently involved in all of the outbreaks. He was unable to locate her because she generally used to leave the place after any outbreak began, without giving a clue where she was going. In late 1906, Mellon was hired by Walter Bowen, whose family lived in the posh Park Avenue, Manhattan. The investigator, Soper, first met Mellon in the kitchen of the Bowens and accused her of spreading the disease. When Mellon diplomatically declined this and refused to provide her body fluid samples for verification, Soper compiled a 5-year history of her employment. He found that of the 8 families she had served, members of 7 had suffered typhoid. Mellon again refused to take the responsibility, believing that typhoid was due to contaminated food and water. At that time, the concept of healthy carriers was literally unknown even to the healthcare workers. Soper published his findings in 1907 in the Journal of American Medical Association, and he wrote that the family employed Mellon on August 4. Then 3 weeks later, the typhoid epidemic broke out, shortly followed by her departure. Mellon was described as an Irish woman of 40, tall, heavy, single, and, very interestingly, apparently healthy. Soper finally got Mary arrested and sentenced to quarantine in urgent public interest. Massive numbers of typhoid bacteria were detected in her stool samples, indicating that the infection center was her gallbladder. Under questioning, Mellon admitted that she almost never washed her hands, even before cooking and even after using the washroom. This was not unusual at that time, since the germ theory of disease still was not fully accepted by one and all. Now, health authorities suggested removing her gallbladder, but she refused it because she did not believe that she carried the disease. At that time, gallbladder removal used to be a risky and dangerous procedure and could be fatal too. Furthermore, Mary was also reluctant to leave working as a cook due to her handsome salary, so the chances of unknowingly harming countless innocent individuals via oral fecal infection route became a scary yet strong possibility. After Soper published his case study, Mary Mellon came into limelight by the apt nickname Typhoid Mary, Wherever typhoid was described, it was never without Mary, and of course, she detested it. In 1910, Mellon reconciled and promised in writing that she will no more work as a cook, hence she was released from quarantine and actually tried to work as a laundry woman. But soon she had to give this up due to an injury, and again she took to work as a cook, changing her surname to disguise herself. In fact, she now started working in the pantries of public places like restaurants, hotels, and spa centers, which she shouldn't have. And wherever she worked, surely enough, there were outbreaks of typhoid. However, she changed her jobs rather frequently, and Soper was unable to find her. In 1915, Mellon started working at a big hospital in New York City. Soon, 25 people got infected and 2 died. Learning this, she immediately fled from there also, but was identified by Soper by virtue of her verbal descriptions and her handwriting. She was finally arrested and quarantined for decades, where after a while she served as a lab technician for some years before she died of stroke at the age of 69. The ethic part of her arrest and forced quarantines for almost 26 long years is a big question mark whether there was a justification for arresting her and isolating her from everyone like this. The answer to this question is indeed complicated and inconclusive. Research by a reliable source says that Typhoid Mary had infected at least 122 individuals, including at least 5 dead for sure, while some other source reports up to 50 fatalities. By this time this unfortunate lady died, New York health officials had identified more than 400 other healthy carriers of Salmonella typhi, but thankfully none else was forcibly confined or victimized like Typhoid Mary, and people did understand by now that such people had not committed any crime. The public health care of that era did not have antibiotic treatment, and gallbladder removal was a high-risk surgery. Some modern specialists also claim that the typhoid bacteria can become integrated in the macrophages and then reside in the intestinal lymph nodes or the spleen. Typhoid Mary was the first individual in history who was established to be an asymptomatic carrier of the typhoid bacterium. Hence, the officials had no idea how to deal with this situation. Hence, she was not explained and counseled well enough. However, her case helped these officials identify other people who carried diseases that were dormant in their bodies and also to treat them better. Sadly enough, the phrase Typhoid Mary is a colloquial term for anyone who knowingly or not spreads disease or some other undesirable thing in community. Thanks for watching our videos. We are waiting for your response. Stay blessed, confident, and work hard for your golden future. We'll be back with a new story like creation for you very soon. Bye till next time.